Hey everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the episode 2 of my full episodes that I like to do here on the channel, usually about once a week, twice a week. Whenever we have something to talk about, I like to maybe get on here and just do a show a little more laid back, just me and you. But if you want to find me on Twitter, you can do so at Eric Gel with a J. And you can also find me on the 3-Star Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at 3-Star Pod or on Twitter at 3-Star Podcast 1. To kind of start today's show, I thought we would just maybe discuss a little bit about the unfortunate passing of rapper DMX. Also, not just a rapper, also an actor in movies such as Cradle to the Grave, Romeo Must Die, Belly, Last Hour, and to me, a rather underrated film in Exit Wounds. It was a movie I really enjoyed when I was a teenager. Him and Steven Seagal in that film. Lot of fun, lot of great action in that movie. But obviously, his career as a rapper is, bar none, his most his biggest success with albums as and then there was X, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, Party Up in Here. It's just he had a great career. It was one of those, I wasn't I'm still not a big music guy, but. Even in high school when I was hanging out with friends in school that, everybody was listening to DMX. It was hard not to listen to his music. And, what some people don't like rap, or whatever, but I think he always had a good beat. He always had some of his songs like Ain't No Sunshine or Slippin', I thought were not quite, I mean, they were really great in my opinion because they weren't like the same type of mold that some rap songs would be. It was a little more, personal, and I kind of like that. So it's just unfortunate, and I'm not going to speculate about what happened to him leading up to his passing. That if you, obviously he had a heart attack. That's the most important part of this. But it's just unfortunate to die at such a young age of 50 years old. So rest in peace, X. I pray for you, and I pray for your family, and I. For all involved. So, moving on to a little bit more lighter topic. Sony and Netflix have announced a major deal that will see all of Sony's properties or movies will be streaming exclusively on Netflix moving forward. Netflix bought the rights to a lot of Sony catalog films, which would include some Columbia Pictures and Sony Pictures Classics, which includes Screen Gems and TriStar Pictures as well. This basically means that moving forward, Netflix will have the exclusive rights to all the Spider-Man films, Venom, Jumanji, and the Bad Boys franchise, all of which look to be getting more sequels in the future. So that pretty much dashes the hopes for Disney Plus ever getting all of the Marvel MCU films and just Marvel films in general on their platform. This is a big win for Netflix. Netflix was starting to maybe have a little hard time keeping up in these streaming wars with Netflix or with Disney Plus and HBO Max, and others like Paramount Plus and Peacock are now in the game. So this is a big win for Sony for Netflix because a lot of companies are going to be pulling their movies off of their streaming service to put on their own networks, and that makes total sense. But in this case, with Spider-Man No Way Home coming, there's going to be a Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2, the animated movie coming, which is highly underrated, the first film. Jumanji is likely to get yet another sequel because that last film set up another film. And then Bad Boys, who just released Bad Boys for Life, they've been talking about doing a fourth, and that movie also kind of set up a fourth. Netflix definitely got something here. And to be honest, if it wasn't for something like this, I probably would have canceled Netflix personally because I'm not as big into some of their original content as other people are. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff on there, but to me, I seem to be watching Disney Plus and HBO Max more. I keep the Peacock service due to the WWE Network now, but it's got The Office and The Big Bang Theory and Parks and Rec. Or I'm sorry, it's got Parks and Rec and Office. Big Bang Theory is on HBO Max. Yeah, so I mean, I just prefer to watch the other apps more than Netflix at this point. But making this move will definitely intrigue me to keep it. Even though I try to own all my movies separate from streaming services, because you just never know when a streaming service is going to take those movies that you enjoy off of their service and they'll move to another service or whatever the reason might be. I always feel like it is a good idea to keep physical media around, or somehow purchase the film yourself. That way, you don't have to rely on streaming service apps. And even if you can get it offline too, where you don't have to stream it, it's even better too. Because what if the internet goes out, you can't watch your movie that you want to watch. So I've always been a big proponent of that for all my movies. All right. So what did you think about that? Comment down below. Let me know, and hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you're seeing here so far. Um, all right, we'll move on to the next topic here. Lucasfilm this week announced the cast, or at least a little bit of the cast, for Indiana Jones 5. And that will include Harrison Ford, of course. He'll be returning in the iconic role of Indiana Jones at the age of 78, I believe. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But the report this week was that Phoebe Waller-Bridge will be joining the cast. And for those of you who don't know who Phoebe Waller-Bridge is, I don't know a lot of her work, but the work that sticks out the most to me as a Star Wars fan, she was in Solo, a Star Wars story. She's the actress who played the motion capture and the voice of L3, Lando Calrissian's droid, in that movie. So it's kind of interesting to me, or ironic a little bit, that she will now be, teaming up with the original Han Solo actor. So I thought that was kind of interesting. This movie is set to be directed by Logan's James Mangold, which we all know how well he did with Logan. Um, Steven Spielberg is setting this one out. I believe he's busy with other projects, and getting up there in age as well. Maybe he doesn't want to direct as much. I don't know. But what are my opinions on Indiana Jones 5 as a whole? I mean, it just depends. I know a lot of people can't stand Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but obviously the first three Indiana Jones films are considered classics to many, and myself included. I personally didn't mind Kingdom of the Crystal Skull that much, with the exception of two scenes: the refrigerator scene and the monkey swinging scene with Shia LaBeouf. Other than that, I didn't mind Crystal Skull that much. I know a lot of people were like, don't do aliens in the movie or things like that. But to me, it's like, okay, the first film you had an arc that melted people's faces, and then the second film you had people ripping hearts out, and it's all sci-fi-ish type thing. So I didn't really mind the alien part of it, or interdimensional beings or whatever they called them in the movie, actually. But so I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones 5, and I hope, in the minds of those people who don't like Crystal Skull, I hope that Indiana Jones 5 will at least be able to redeem that film for them, or at least redeem the franchise for them. Now, I know there's been speculation too. Will Indiana Jones continue after Harrison Ford? I don't know. If it were up to me and I was filming this movie, I've always felt that an actor like Chris Pratt, who played Star Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, would be a good Indiana Jones. Um, Especially like Chris Pratt of Jurassic World, that kind of character. And if I was filming Indiana Jones 5, I would maybe start the movie out like old Indiana Jones, with Harrison Ford is teaching his class or something, and he's telling a story about this one, adventure he had, or maybe this is how the movie ends, where he kind of, maybe we see the final adventure of Indiana Jones 5, whatever that story may be with Harrison, and then at the end of the movie he's telling his class, talking about another, or says, hey, you think that adventure's cool? Why don't I tell you this other adventure? And then when I was a younger man, and then Indiana Jones 6 comes out, and that's that next story that Harrison Ford is telling his class. And then you move on with more stories, and then you can kind of set up a younger Indiana Jones that way and kind of continue the franchise. But I've also heard, talk that maybe Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford's baby, and it's his alone, and after this, it may be that may be it. And that would be fine too. That would be still 5 films in the franchise, and I know they had an animated or a Young Indiana Jones series as well. So there's other things, but to me, the franchise is the films. So I'm looking forward to this. But another piece of news about this that was brought up as well, it was confirmed that iconic composer John Williams will also be back to score this film, and yeah, no brainer here. I mean, John Williams, Indiana Jones theme, Jaws theme, Star Wars, Superman theme, Jurassic Park, you name it, the dude has scored it. And as long as John Williams is still able to do so, I say bring him back. I mean, he's a maestro. I mean, the dude is unparalleled in his profession. I say the more John Williams music, the better. I cannot wait to hear his score for it. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I know a lot of people wonder if this movie's even going to get made. It's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and especially with the pandemic, got pushed back some more. But I really hope to see at least one more Indiana Jones film, and it's scheduled right now for July of 2022. So the filming should be ready to go here pretty soon. Um, so yeah, so let's move on to our next topic. Our next topic today is I wanted to get into a little bit of the Falcon and Winter Soldier from this past week. I put up a spoiler review on my channel, so if you've not seen that, please go check it out. It was for episode 4, the whole world is watching, which is an aptly named episode based on what happens in the end of it. I will not get into spoilers here though, because there may be some people who are watching that have not seen it yet. But best episode of the season, in my opinion. It's very. There's some scenes in here that are very deep, very emotional, where they are taking this Captain America Shield storyline. I believe is the right track. I know there are many people who have not liked the character of John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son. Um, but I think by the end of this episode, everybody is going to be a little more intrigued with this character. A lot of people just didn't like him earlier on because he wasn't Steve Rogers and he wasn't Captain America. I understand that. I love Steve Rogers too, and I love Chris Evans in that role. But unfortunately, Chris Evans has moved on. I think he has signed to maybe appear again as Captain America, but probably in a smaller role. So we may still see him yet again. Never say never in the world of comic books, I always say. I even think Tony Stark can make a return. And Black Widow and everybody that we've not seen. It's comics. No one's ever really dead. So yeah, I mean, but in regards to John Walker though, this episode delved a little bit more into his internal struggle a little bit, and it also definitely ended on a note that is highly intriguing. I think fundamentally changes this series going forward, and I'm looking forward to see where they take it. Episode 5 and 6 are the only episodes left in this season. Um, but you know what? There have been about hour episodes. By the time the season is done, we're going to have about a 6-hour movie. So I think that's going to be great to have as well. And it's shot like a movie. It's amazing to look at. It's a big budget film split up into 6 chapters on a streaming service. And if Marvel and the MCU continue to make films like this, or series like this, I should say, we're in for a treat, because it means basically, if spaced out correctly, there will be MCU content on every week throughout the entire year almost. There may be a few weeks here and there where there's a gap and there's no content, but in 2021 we've already had 8 weeks of WandaVision. We're 4 weeks into Falcon and Winter Soldier. Loki's right around the corner. Then we got movies interspersed in between. We got What If coming out this year, the animated show from Marvel. We've got Hawkeye. We've got Miss Marvel, all on Disney Plus, and then we've still got the movies, obviously, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We've got Eternals and Spider-Man No Way Home rounding out the year. I mean, that is a giant list for the MCU for just 2021 alone. And I won't even get into 2022 and 2023 off the top of my head, because I can't remember. I can't keep it all straight this year. But yeah, it's packed, from January to December. And that's great. And that doesn't even include like your Venoms or the DC stuff going on, or Star Wars is starting to. Star Wars is another one, I think, starting next year. If they space it out correctly, you could have the Book of Boba Fett in December of this year running through January, and then you get Mandalorian season 3 whenever that starts shooting. That could possibly be right around the corner after that. Then they're filming the Cassian Andor show They're filming Obi-Wan. It's about ready to begin filming, so that'll be ready to go. You got the Bad Batch. You've got Ahsoka about ready to ramp up. That could probably be ready in time by the end of next year. And so I mean, Star Wars is even getting to that point. They may not have films coming to theaters, but on Disney Plus, if they spaced out all those correctly, you might have an episode once a week all through 2022 of that series. So and Disney Plus is always looking for content. I mean, they started out a little slow. They didn't really have anything but The Mandalorian for a while. Um, and of course now they've got a series that I think is a little underrated. Probably is the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, which let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit too. The Mighty Ducks the Game Changers. Um, Disney Plus getting all this content. They're finally starting to get a groove where they're releasing stuff consistently, and I think it's going to help their service. But the Mighty Ducks the Game Changers. I caught up with it this weekend, and I'm telling you, it's a fun little show. I mean, it's clearly nostalgia driven a little bit, especially for those fans of the Mighty Ducks films with Emilio Estevez. Um, I mean, I wasn't super. Well, again, well, I'm not going to ruin anything here for anybody who's not seen it, but there's 3 episodes of that show out now. A little half hour a piece. Nothing too long. But it's almost kind of a sort of reboot of the Mighty Ducks franchise a little bit, but a continuation as well. Obviously, with the Gordon Bombay character returning with Emilio Estevez himself. Um, I was intrigued to where they were going to take Gordon Bombay in this series because the way the show portrays him, especially in the first few episodes. But by the end of episode 3, which just released this weekend, it was really touching. And there's a moment in this episode 3, especially where you find out a little bit more what's happened with Gordon Bombay in the time since the movies, and it's a very heart touching or heart not really heart wrenching but very touching scene, I should say, with Lauren Graham, who's the other main actor or actress in this movie, along with the children for the team, obviously. And the children got some good chemistry, and they're pretty funny as well. I'm not gonna lie, I get some laughs out of it. But there's a scene with Lauren Graham and Emilio Estevez where they're discussing what happened with Gordon Bombay and why he's kind of acting the way he is and kind of hesitant to help out and things like that. And I thought it was really well done, really well acted, and I don't know. The show's got heart, and I think it's a fun little show to get into. So if you're a fan of the Mighty Ducks movies at all, if you grew up with them, or if you were a little nostalgic toward that series, I highly recommend the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. It's worth a watch. All right, so let's move on to our next topic today. It's a topic that kind of going along again with the streaming service conversation. HBO Max and Warner Brothers have now announced that beginning in 2022, they're not going to be releasing movies day and date with theaters on their streaming service anymore. When they first announced that they were going to release movies in 2021 straight to HBO Max and theaters on the exact same day, that was going to be 2021 only due to the pandemic. And the fact that a lot of people still don't feel comfortable, or some movie theaters, or some people's movie theaters are not open yet. So they were going to release movies straight to their streaming service at no additional cost, mind you. And they've already done so this year with Tom and Jerry, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Godzilla vs. Kong, all of which were released directly to the streaming service. And they've announced now that they will not be doing that beginning in 2022. They'll be going back to strictly to theaters, at least for the 45 days. I can't remember if it was 45 days or 90 days before they release it to HBO Max. But either way, they're going to be going straight to theaters again. But let's run down the list of movies here that are coming up for 2021 that will be coming straight to HBO Max. Just remember, though, all these movies, they will also be released in theaters, but if you can't go to theaters, they're on the streaming service here. But they're only on the streaming service for 30 days. After that, they are put back in the theaters only, and you'll have to wait for them to come back to HBO Max after that. Movies for the rest of this year that people might be interested in. The list includes Mortal Kombat on April 23rd. The reboot of that film, I think that looks incredible, by the way. I mean, it looks very violent and gory. I know it's supposed to be, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be, I think it's rated R. I'm not positive on that. But anyhow, Mortal Kombat, April 23rd. Those Who Wish Me Dead, which I just did a trailer reaction for, by the way, the Angelina Jolie movie. That looks incredible, by the way. I was taken back by that. There's been some movies that HBO Max has released this year, like Tom and Jerry and Godzilla King versus Kong. To me, could have been better, but it wasn't bad. But there's been some stuff on HBO Max that I thought maybe could have been a little better. But this movie looks absolutely incredible. Um, that Those Who Wish Me Dead will be out on May 14th. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, coming out on June 4th. I'm not a big fan of the franchise. I'm not a big horror guy myself personally, but there are many who are, so I'm sure you'll be looking forward to that. In the Heights, um, I'm not sure exactly what this movie is about, to be honest with you. It starts on June 11th on HBO Max. Then we got Space Jam: A New Legacy. I've also done a trailer reaction to that. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. LeBron James stars with all the Looney Tunes, and that comes out on July 16th. August 6th, we have The Suicide Squad, James Gunn directing the DC property. Also a trailer reaction I've done to that as well. That looks like it would be a lot of fun. A lot of Guardians of the Galaxy vibes, I think, in that one, so check that out as well. Reminiscence, I believe is how you pronounce that. It's a Hugh Jackman movie coming out on August 27th. Malignant, it's a James Wan directed film coming out on September 10th. The Many Saints of Newark will be coming out on September 24th, which is a Sopranos prequel. So all those who enjoy the Sopranos series, you might be intrigued by The Many Saints of Newark in September 24th. And then in October 1st, is the remake of Dune, the sci-fi classic. A lot of people enjoy. I've never personally seen it, but I've heard it's amazing, actually. So I'm very much looking forward to this. This has got an all-star cast, by the way, so this could be very good. A movie on October 22nd called Cry Macho. It's a Clint Eastwood film. November 19th, you got King Richard. Not sure who's starring in that, but it looks like it's about tennis champions Venus and Serena. Follows the story of Richard Williams, who overcame tremendous obstacles to forge a path to success for his daughter. So, okay, so that'll be coming out November 19th. And one of my most anticipated films on this HBO Max release schedule is Matrix 4, the Untitled Matrix film, which I believe was rumored to be titled The Matrix Resurrections, which makes sense to me a little bit because you're going to have Neo and Trinity back in this film with Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves. From what I understand, though, Morpheus is not in this movie, Lawrence Fishburne, or at least the older Morpheus. They have cast some actors who that are rumored to maybe be playing a young Morpheus. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. And of course, there's no Agent Smith, from what I could tell, either in this film. But with a restart or continuation or whatever you want to call of this franchise, this film could go anywhere as well. Especially with the Matrix. I mean, you could do a lot of freaky stuff. So never say never. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already planning another trilogy or something. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But those are the releases coming out in 2021. 2022, like I said, probably beginning with The Batman, will be back in movie theaters only in March of 2022. So enjoy it while you can, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to last forever. So, all right, moving on to our next topic, though. This week, let's see if I can pull it up here. Paramount Pictures, they announced a slew of movie release date changes, I should say, and even announced a few things. So let's get into that a little bit here. This pandemic has been playing havoc and wreaking havoc on all these release dates, and let's start with the first one. Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe film, has moved from October 22nd, 2021 to July 23rd, 2021. So it got moved up, believe it or not. So that's great. That'll be now a summer movie. So let's hope that sticks and we get to see the origins, or I don't know about origins or how they're going to play this with Snake Eyes. It's obviously going to be his solo film, so it sounds like an origin type thing. I would really love to see them either reboot the G.I. Joe franchise or continue it. The first one, Rise of Cobra, wasn't that great, but I thought the one with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, I thought it was actually pretty decent. So I don't know if they're going to continue that, or it sounds like it's going to be a reboot to me. And they've got all these franchises at Paramount, like the Transformers. I believe they own Power Rangers. They have, they got G.I. Joe, clearly. I couldn't remember if they had Ninja Turtles or not, but all these films, I know at one point they were discussing about possibly bringing them together, Avengers style, a little bit. Transformers, Power Rangers, and GI Joe was the three big ones, and I think there was some other movies they were talking about making as well, and one of them we may discuss here in a little bit here, in that type of vein. But I think it could be interesting. I don't know if it'll work, but it would be crazy. It'd be a lot of fun, maybe to throw the Transformers and GI Joe especially together. But we'll see where they go with that. But Snake Eyes moves to July. Uh, the new Jackass movie, Jackass 4, I guess you'd call it. I think it's officially just titled Jackass, but um, it has been scheduled for October 22nd now. Got pushed back about a little over a month. So again, just another pandemic casualty, unfortunately. Top Gun Maverick, which I believe was originally scheduled for where the Snake Eyes movie is now being released, has been set back all the way to November of this year. So it's still in 2021. But we've been waiting a while to see Top Gun Maverick. It was supposed to be out originally last summer. It's like, it's going to be about a year and a half, delay at this point. And it's going to be pushing Mission Impossible 7, another Tom Cruise film. That movie was supposed to come out on November 19th, and now will debut May 27th of 2022. So it'll be next summer. So, and to be honest, Mission Impossible deserves a summer release date, especially this franchise. Some people who may not care for Mission Impossible, I'll tell you this: if you only stop watching Mission Impossible after the first two, you need to try it again, because 3 is pretty good. 4 is incredible, and they just continue to get better after that. It ages like a good fine wine. To me, it's kind of like the Fast and Furious franchise. They just continue to get a little bit better with age, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who don't like that franchise either. But Mission Impossible 7 pushes to May 27th, 2022. Then we get an Untitled Bee Gees movie. I'm guessing it's going to be kind of in the vein of, these musical documentary type films, I'm guessing. They did a few of those. I'm assuming that's what they're going to do with this, but I'm not sure. It moves to November 4th, 2022. It was announced. It doesn't actually move. It was a new movie they announced. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Dungeons and Dragons, which is based on the game, it was previously announced for the May 27th release date that now Mission Impossible 7 has. It has now moved all the way to March 3rd, 2023. This will star Chris Pine. Last I heard, and I don't know how this movie is going to go, but we'll see how they do with it. I'm intrigued by it just based on the name alone. I know they did a movie back in the day or whatever that didn't go too well, so we'll see what they do with this. June 9th, 2023. It's still a few years away, but Paramount has now announced a Star Trek film, which we're going to talk about here on its own here in a second. But the June 9th, 2023, new Star Trek film. Mission Impossible 8, the sequel to 7, which was going to be shot back to back. I think they pushed it back a little bit. Is now moved all the way from November 4th of next year to July 7th of 2023. So since 7 got moved, 8's going to have to get pushed as well. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer for more Ethan Hunt, and we'll see where they go with this franchise. I'm actually intrigued where they might go with Mission Impossible, because I know Tom Cruise has talked a long time about how he thought it could be like the next James Bond. And I don't know how long Tom Cruise is going to be able to play this role. I mean, at some point, he's probably going to want to step aside. I know they originally thought Jeremy Renner might take the character after Hawkeye himself. They thought he might take the character after, I believe, it's Mission Impossible 4. But I think they kind of felt that the audience didn't feel his character was strong enough to lead the franchise moving forward, especially after I think Jeremy Renner tried to do the One Born movie. I think it was him, and I don't think it went as well as they thought. So they kind of backed off on that, and Tom Cruise continued it, and I think it's worked out great so far. I mean, the movies have been outstanding. So we'll see where they take that franchise moving forward after these next two films. Also in Mission Impossible, I believe, the lady who plays Agent Carter, Haley Atwell, is going to be in those films too. So that I'm very intrigued what they're going to do with her character. After this, The Shrinking of Treehorn is another movie that Paramount announced for November 10th, 2023. I'm not sure exactly what this is about, but yet another movie announced by Paramount. And finally, for the Paramount announcements, the Untitled Ryan Reynolds movie with John Krasinski, Jim from The Office, is going to be teaming up with Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool himself. And of course, John Krasinski has carved himself out as a bit of a, almost, I wouldn't say action star, but definitely more of a name in Hollywood with The Quiet Place, director and star of that film. And he's directing the sequel to it as well. And of course, he was Jack Ryan in the Amazon series. So John Krasinski is definitely, on the rise. And who'd have thought Jim from The Office, just tough, muscular dude, just running around with with guys like Ryan Reynolds doing action films. So I don't know if this is going to be action or not, but it's an untitled film starring the both of them, and it will release November 17th, 2023. So that'll do it for the Paramount announcements, but they definitely have been pushing things and rearranging things as all all the big major companies have been doing, from Disney to Warner to all of them, Universal, you name it. They've all had to adjust on the fly with this pandemic, and I think they're handling as best they can. And hopefully, we'll get all these films coming out soon without further delay. All right, our last topic of the day was one we talked about here with the Paramount releases, and that was the fact that Star Trek is now getting another film releasing in June of 2023. And this comes to us directly from the Star Trek website, StarTrek.com. Um, the report for the new Untitled Star Trek 4 or Untitled Star Trek, we don't know what's going to be. This is what they wrote about it on the website. This will be the first new Star Trek film since the last installment in the Kelvinverse series, Star Trek Beyond director Justin Lin's 2016 installment. As of now, there is no official information concerning the director of this latest movie, nor do we know whether or not we'll be exploring more of the Kelvinverse, perhaps pick up from where Star Trek Nemesis left off with the Next Generation films, or if the film will follow a new plot entirely through the Prime timeline. So, they've announced a film. Now, I'm sure Paramount has an idea where they want to take this. They're just not telling us yet, which that's fine. It's still 3 years or 2 years away. I'm sorry, a little over 2 years away. So Paramount don't have to tell us any information about this yet. I mean, but the fact that another Star Trek film is coming, it's great to hear. I know for a long time Star Trek 4, the continuation of Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and that crew, the 2009 version, the James or J.J. Abrams version, have been that was heavily rumored to continue. But with the unfortunate death of the actor who played uh, Chekhov, Anton Yelkin, I believe was his name. Uh, I don't know if that maybe they've kind of thought, okay, maybe we won't do that now. I mean, they did get a trilogy of films, so that film ended good enough, I thought, to where that could be the last one. That'd be okay. I always thought it would be kind of interesting to maybe do uh, another film with that crew, and then maybe you jump forward in time or something, and maybe reintroduce the Next Generation crew, but with different actors. You could do that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe people would care for that. Maybe that's just me, but I thought it'd be kind of an interesting concept. But yeah, this film could take place. I mean, the one thing about Star Trek, which I'm a fan of, I'm not as big of a fan of Star Trek as I am Star Wars. I'm more of a Star Wars guy, but I love both. But with Star Trek, I have been noticing, especially if you have the Paramount Plus app now, they have been ramping up their TV series again. I mean, in full force. And I mean, everything from Star Trek Discovery got the ball rolling. Then Star Trek Picard. First season was great, by the way, of Star Trek Picard. I've yet to see Star Trek Discovery. I need to get caught up on some of this stuff. But they have now announced they're spinning off some of that stuff from Discovery into Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Star Trek Prodigy is an animated series they're doing, starring the captain from Voyager, Janeway. And they're also doing an animated show, Lower Decks, and I believe they even had plans for a like Section 31, like a Black Ops type series from Star Trek as well. So on the TV side of things, it's kind of like Star Wars a little bit, to where they're expanding their universe on television, and which is definitely boosting Paramount Plus. I mean, 'cause that's their major franchise on Paramount Plus, in my opinion. It's basically, to me, the Star Trek app. I mean, they've got other things as well, and I'm sure we'll get more Paramount properties on there as we roll on here. But to me, it was like, okay, they're finally starting to focus on their universe, because there was a time there after the J.J. Abrams reboot films that they kind of like, okay, what are we doing? They took time off, and it just felt like Star Trek faded away for a while. Um, but Star Trek has always lived on television, so this, I mean, for the most part, I mean, they've had their films clearly. But none of them have been like Marvel level successful. They've not even been Star Wars level successful. They've made some money, but they're not, as well received as some of the other major franchises. But from what I can tell, they are definitely putting their best foot forward with the franchise moving forward, and I think that's great. Um, so I'm very intrigued to see where this film will tie into all this. Again, they could very well be branching out. Maybe they may be trying to tie all this stuff together, just like everybody else is doing with all their franchises. So we'll see where they go with it. But yeah, I'd be very intrigued if this continues after the Star Trek Nemesis Next Generation films, because that's where Picard takes place. Like some what 30 years after Next Generation or 20 years, something like that. I think it's 20 years actually. Or we could get the continuation of the Abrams verse. Now, I think I did hear that this film will be produced by J.J. Abrams, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to follow the Kelvin timeline. But even Picard references the Kelvin timeline because it does, in a way, take place in the Prime timeline as well, but then spins off into its own timeline. So there are events from the J.J. Abrams movie, or at least the first film, that affects Picard and some of these other Prime timeline shows. So, but what do you guys think? Do you guys think this new movie will be great? Do you guys think Star Trek is kind of played out? Or I don't think so. I think Star Trek will be around forever. I mean, I like the series and shows. I need to get caught up on all the series. I've not watched all of them all the way through. There's a lot of episodes, so one of these days I plan on doing that. All right, guys, so that will do it today for my second episode back on the YouTube channel. Full episode. We went a little long today because of all the news, but there's a lot going on. So, but what did you guys think about everything we talked about? Please comment below. Hit that like, hit the subscribe button, and until my next video, take care.